That's perfect. So, Dr. Nilesh is a senior environmental and sustainability professional with over around a decade or 14 years to be exact of experience in his field. He holds a PhD from the School of Environmental and Earth Sciences, North Maharashtra University, and currently works with Nirantara, where he focuses on environmental management, sustainability strategies, and regulation. In his areas of expertise, there is an array of expertise which starts with environmental sustainable management, ESG, extended product producer responsibility, the EPR systems, the sustainability reporting frameworks, regulatory compliance, green steel certification, circular economy and waste management, and also in the new inclusion, the CPAP. And congratulations, Dr. Nilesh. We would like to mention because we have observed that Dr. Nilesh, you have been featured as a you have been featured in the sustainability magazine as the top 2,250 sustainability leaders as of 2026, and ranked among the top 150 worldwide, demonstrating the significant impact and thought leadership in the sustainability domain. Today, with his extensive experience across regulatory frameworks, corporate sustainability strategies, and practical implementation, Dr. Nilesh brings both theoretical and real world insights that will help listeners navigate the complex landscape of sustainability reporting and measurements. So, again, thank you so much, Dr. Nilesh, where we demystifying sustainability for the real world. I, Anvesh, and along with my colleague Om. And today we are starting a journey that I think many of us have been waiting for, a clear, honest conversation about what sustainability means and how business measures it. So, um, before we deep dive into the frameworks and measurements, I would like to actually ask a very curious question of myself, Dr. Nilesh, and that is
Yeah.
that how did you get into sustainability work and what keeps you passionate about it for about 14 years, which is a really long time? So, if you could share something.
So basically, I'm a graduate of chemistry, and while I was in my graduations, that time I had multiple choices, multiple branches in the chemistry, and one of that was the pesticides. So basically, my own philosophy is that we don't have the right to take the life of any innocent creature of this planet, and it has its own mechanism to control the population, or even for the pest control, the integrated pest control management system is there. So when I saw there are multiple branches and fields where we can actually take care of our Mother Earth. So I diverted towards the environmental sciences. And from there, I started my journey in the sustainability field.
That is really amusing with the belief that nature is self refining or self repairing mechanism of the nature and supporting its motive, and with your curiosity driven into application of it into the industrial is a very great motive, and we really appreciate that. And we also say that as at Forest Wind we also share the same, and we would like to see that forward how it goes in the world. Right. So maybe let's start with something, and that I think frustrates a lot of people, including seasoned professionals. The word sustainability is like everywhere in annual reports, marketing material, job descriptions. Yet, if we ask about like 10 people to define it, and I'm pretty sure that you'll get like 10 different answers for it. So, Dr. Nilesh, why is there so much confusion around these terms? And more specifically, can you answer us, which is what does sustainability mean, and why is there so much of confusion around or surrounding this term?
So basically, the sustainability in the layman's language, or if you use the word sustainability to anyone, so their first picture comes into their mind, that is the environment. So the sustainability is not only the environment, actually, it has three basic pillars in which you need to consider your society, your governance, and then your environment. So without neglecting, or if you will consider only the environment and you will neglect the two pillars, then it will not work. So the Brundtland definition of sustainability is that he says the development that meets the need of present without compromising the ability of your future generations to meet their own needs. But this definition was given in the 1987 or around that. But even in that period, it was also not clear. Even in today's time, those who are not aware about actually what is the sustainability, they think sustainability is only about the environment.
That is very very motivating as well, I would say, because it's not only that we look at the needs and wants of the today's or the current generation, it is also to enrich the fruits or leave the fruits for the future generation that are coming out of this earth. That is great, sir. So now, when we speak about sustainability, everyone has different constraints. As you mentioned, environment is one of the thing that they always spoke about. But in the recent terms, we have more terminologies or more kind of terms which are coming around the sustainability. But that is again a bit of confusing for like a layman or a person outside the industry or who's getting into the industry. So can you like define us what is the difference between ESG, CSR, and sustainability? And are these terms interchangeable or distinct?
So, Anvesh, before directly diving into these terminologies, I would like to set a ground for the sustainability when actually this term came into the existence. So
Mhm.
if we go back to the 18th century, there we can find the sustainable yield. The term was first used by the Hans Carl von Clausewitz. It was used in the 1713. And after that, the Thomas Malthus in the 1798, he warned that the human population is growing exponentially, while the food production were only growing linearly. After that, the George Perkins Marsh in the 1864 is a very famous book written by him, that is Man and Nature. And in that, he first documented how human activity is permanently damaging the Earth's ability to sustain the life. And after that, if we come to the 19th century, sorry, the 20th century, so you might have heard the name of Rachel Carlson. She was a very brilliant scientist, and in the 1958, her friend wrote a letter to her that there is a mass death of birds is seen in the Massachusetts sanctuary due to the use of DDT spraying. And
Yes.
this world-known marine biologist, that is Rachel Carson, she was a very good writer, and she written a Silent Spring named book in 1962. And in that, she challenged the prevailing mid-century narrative that the humans could and should master nature through chemistry. So obviously, in the right from the beginning of the first industrial revolution, the people were heavily relying on the technologies which were growing, and chemistry was one of that. So her testimony before the Congress eventually led to the ban of DDT for agricultural use in the United States. And the most significantly, the creation of Environmental Protection Agency that was happened in the 1970s. After that, the Silent Spring fundamentally changed the global psyche because it introduced the revolutionary idea that the technological progress requires a transparent reporting and rigorous oversight to ensure it doesn't destroy the life support system of the planet. Okay. So, not only that, but after that, some very drastic environmental disasters were actually these were anthropogenic disasters, like the in the 1969 the Santa Barbara blowout was there, and that blowout was very heavily contaminating the coastal lands. It contaminated near about 90 kilometers coastline polluted. Okay, and 1 lakh barrel crude oil was sprayed over the coastal land of that Santa Barbara. So thousands of seabirds and marine mammals located and got coated their wings, their bodies, and they get suffocated due to this crude. And after that, again, more such kind of events happened in the 1978. Amco Cadiz, and after that Extoc in 1979, which proved that the industrial accidents were not just your local tragedies, but they were transboundary ecological wars. And these events stripped away the industry that the disguise of safety. You cannot force a realization that corporate operations carried risk far greater than the value of the fuel they produced. Okay. So as a result, the first Earth Day in 1970 that was translated environmentalism into a massive political movement. And after that, these disasters led to the directly to the passage of the National Environmental Policy Act in the that is the USPA and Clean Water Act in the United States. So in the 1970, if we compare the rest of the world, the US was far ahead, Europe and US, because these both were leading the industrial revolutions and they were far ahead than the rest of the world. So this was the leading foundation of the operational transparency in which the companies were no longer allowed to keep the accidents behind the closed doors. And this was the raw, unpolished version of the today's sophisticated ESG reporting.
Yes.
After that, if we see that the next event, like the in 1985, the three researchers from the British Arctic Survey published one research paper that was a very shocking study in the Nature journal that they revealed the protective ozone layer over the Antarctica had depleted by nearly 40% less than in a decade. Okay, so actually I'm trying to connect the dot in the history that how all these things are coming into our today's practice. So it led to the 1987's Montreal Protocol, and this the most successful environmental treaty has happened in ever in the history. And after that, for the first time, every single country on the earth eventually agreed to phase out a specific class of industrial chemicals like this chlorofluorocarbons and rest of the thing. So this era founded the global atmospheric reporting. Okay. And after that, it moved environmental data from how much did we spill in the river then to how much these specific molecules are we releasing into the global commons. And it set a stage for the rigorous data-driven reporting we now see in carbon accounting. Okay, so most of the, I can say the first stone, milestone was dropped by the virtue of your ozone hole discovery. After that, the Brundtland report came. So when we talk about the sustainability, but actually sustainability, but as I said, it way go back to the 18th century. So after the growing realization at the United Nations that the environmental protection and economic development were on a collision course. So in the 1983, the United Nations Secretary General asked to the Gro Harlem Brundtland, he was the former Prime Minister of Norway, to chair the commission to address the accelerating deterioration of the human environment and natural resources. And uh, before this, actually, after taking the charge of this commission, the team moved to around 900 places on our planet, and then they compiled a report. And this was a big bang of modern sustainability reporting. And by defining the three pillars like the economic, social, and environment. So here the your term coming ESG, but actually governance latter introduced in here, but in the Brundtland report it was basically the economic, social, and environment. So it moved a goalpost from merely not polluting to actively sustaining the future and providing the way for a holistic ESG metrics we are using today.
Yes.
So after that, in the 1988, the IPCC get formed
Yes.
because after you are getting the picture of what actually happening because of our activities, we know we should have some concrete action plan. And for that, in the 1988, the IPCC was formed. It was the world's realization that it could no longer rely on the fragmented individual studies to understand how the hitting our planet. Okay. So then in the 1988, when the IPCC was established by the World Meteorological Organization and the UNEP, so the IPCC is designed to be a neutral arbiter. Okay. Its mission not to conduct new researches, but to perform a massive global audit of all existing climate science. And it brought together thousands of scientists to provide policymakers with a rigorous consensus-based view of climate change, its risk and its potential impacts. So its first assessment report was published in the 1990s, and it provided the undeniable evidences needed to kickstart international negotiations. And providing that human-induced greenhouse gas emissions were indeed warming the Earth. So when the IPCC come forward with its first report, then it resulted in the Earth Summit in the Rio de Janeiro in the 1992. So way back from the 18th century, we have came to the 1992 at the Rio de Janeiro. And in the June 1992, over 170 nations and 100 heads of the states came together in Rio de Janeiro, and largest gathering of the world leaders of our planet. So it was here that the world shifted from discussing why we should be sustainable to debating how we would actually do it. The GRI framework came, and now we are coming to the current terminologies we are using in nowadays. So way back in the 1997, there were a non-profit organization called CIRES, that is the Coalition for Environmental Responsible Economies and United Nations Environmental Program. So both of these organizations came together and they created a standardized common language for sustainability. So this was a law revealed and put forefront of the world in the 2000, that that was the first version of GRI guidelines, that is G1. That was the world's first global framework for comprehensive sustainability reporting. Till it is up to only a voluntary. Even I will say it was a very premature or in the infant stages, because people were even not know that what actually the UNEP, even the UNEP was not known to many people way back to 25 or 26 years ago. So after that, the European Union's emission trading system was launched in the 2003. So up to 1990s, were about defining sustainability. Right from your 19 what that period
In the 19th century.
1962, the Rachel Carson started her
Yes.
Silent Spring. Till to the 1990s we were defining the sustainability, but from the 2003 it was about putting a price tag on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the Europe, the Union emission trading system, EU ETS, was established as the world's first major carbon market. So from the 2003 onwards, the carbon trading, carbon footprinting, carbon emissions, water footprints, such kind of things came forward, and academia started including such things in their syllabus. Okay. So simultaneously in around 2003, the Carbon Disclosure Project was going on. It was a actually small non-profit organization in London,
Yes.
and they began sending letters to the world largest companies on behalf of institutional investors like BlackRock and such big investors. So their message was simple: climate change is a financial risk, and show your data. Show us your data.
Yes.
So any investor is investing, so he is very realistic and he is a very fragile to the climatic risks. If
Yeah.
suppose take an example of your solar plant and if he get a hailstorm there, that whole plant will get into the garbage.
Yes.
So basically carbon disclosure products in the 2003, they convince to the investors that your investment is at risk of climate.
Yeah.
After that, the momentum got, and the CDP came as a widely accepted disclosure framework. Okay. And after that, in the 2012, Rio plus 20 summit was happened as a corporate mandate.
Yeah.
So in that summit, it was focused on two main themes. One is building a green economy to eradicate the poverty, because earlier there was a very big economic crash, and the slowdown was there, and for this was also one of the boosting thing to revive the economy. And the second theme of this summit was to improve the international framework for sustainable development. Okay. So the most significant shift was that the formal recognition of the private sector as a primary engine for the change. Because after all the polluting things are going in the private sector rather than the government. Because all the governments are not as rich as the US or the EU or like the developing nations. So the summit moved the needle from voluntary feel-good stories to a call for integrated reporting.
Yes.
Okay. So the paragraph 47 of the outcome of this summit documented specifically acknowledged the importance of corporate sustainability reporting. Okay, so the corporate sustainability first time came into the existence in the Rio de Janeiro in 2012.
Well,
Okay. So it encouraged the companies to integrate its sustainability information into their reporting cycles. So all this, when anybody is talking about the sustainability, then this word is having a lot of things
it
behind
has
it.
a lot of
Yeah,
baggage from the past.
yes.
Uh,
And after that, when after 2012, when everybody was talking sustainability, then the Paris Agreement come forward with a strong concrete thing, that is the Sustainable Development Goal.
yes,
Okay. So for global progress, it demands partnership between governments and transparent and accountable businesses.
absolutely.
And in the September 190, in September 193 countries adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And it featured 17 SDGs, which we
Yes,
are currently using in our reportings. So just month later in the December, the Paris Agreement was signed at COP21. For the
yes.
first time, nearly every nation on the earth committed to a common goal, that is keeping our global temperature rise well below the 2 degrees centigrade. And this introduction of it also introduced the NDCs, that is nationally determined contributions. And it forced countries to submit public, transparent plans on how they would cut their emissions. So in this, whatever our thermal power plants are here, so when we say our national grid emission factor is so and so, so actually our whole, how much crude we are importing, how much we are processing, how petrol, diesel, coal, everything we need to put into under one umbrella with that data to be submitted. So it is again, corporate is doing at their own, governments are doing at their level. So they have to report to the, because they are the party in the COP. Okay. So likewise, after that, this it was a birth of alignment and impact reporting. And suddenly, companies were not just reporting on how water saved, but they were mapping their entire business model against specific sustainable development goals.
Yes,
Okay. So it is also led to the rise of your TCFD, Task Force on
yes,
Sustainable and Financial Disclosures. So the task force on TCFD, it tells you how will the environment affect our company's finances. So this was the overall journey of the sustainability reporting, that how we came and this word came
I
to.
mean, it's most people don't recognize the depth and the past that the sustainability the term has it. But since the induction of 19th century or mid 19th century, the sustainability as a term or as an acknowledgement was already being used, and with followed by anthropogenic activities such as the one that is mentioned in the Silent Spring, which is based on the ban of DBTs and everything else. And also in India, if maybe one of the couple of environmental concerns that people everywhere know is like the Bhopal grass tragedy that we had, and the environmental issues that were aligned with it. And still, many people think that it's only to that extent. But today, from this podcast, we got to learn that it's not only that it stayed with the industries, it actually boiled down to not only the industries, but also the corporates, but also to every stakeholder in the whole supply chain or in the whole instrumentation. And then it boils down to even the minutest of the participant in a country, and that comprises the whole world under the umbrella of sustainability, accounting them and their practices towards the sustainability goals that were developed. And in this, the major points that we could remember is the Rio de Janeiro Act in the 1980s, um, and then the Paris Agreement, which also was on the climate change, limiting it to 2 degrees Celsius, and many more. This gives such a solid foundation. Even specifically speaking, from the Brundtland movement in 1987 until today, which is in 2026, I think it's close to almost 40 years now from the Brundtland movement to today, and there has been a lot of transition which has happened. Because I myself remember back in my schooling in 2010, I used to hear a lot of buzz about ozone. Oh my God, ozone is depleting. Oh my God, we're gonna be dead. But soon after, like 5 years or 7 years after that, we were like, oh, the ozone is recovered. It is back in the action. But again, there is always a debatable topic over that. So that gives a very late foundation on the sustainability as the word and as the entities that are covered and the differences of the GRI, which started as G1. And then today it is known as GRI, which is a global reporting initiative, and TCFD, which is a financial disclosure specifically for the climate related topics for the organization. And consecutively, there were many other frameworks such as SASP and CDP and many other companies. So this brings us to the next question: is that like one of the ideology that many people have, and I think with that we already spoke about, is that um, uh, many people think that sustainability is limited to environmental issues such as recycling or carbon emissions, and it is very difficult for me myself to accept that statement. So could you also like shed some light on that, and also maybe encompass some broader considerations in that?
See, when in the Paris Agreement, it was 17 SDGs were given. So, and even the Brundtland report had used the economic, environment, and social. So, after that, the governance was added, and the Paris Agreement, it clearly says the 17 goals are divided in three columns, like the social, environmental, and governance. So the sustainability is not only environment, it is also having the social component because you are also part of environment and society cannot be neglected. If you want to take care of only society and environment, neglecting the your profitability, that is also not going to work because society will collapse. Okay. So likewise, and when we call the SDGs sustainability, so even if I am considering myself and aligning myself to the SDGs, so do I am working for the prosperity of the society? Do I am educating the peoples around me? Do I have some collaborations or whatever? It doesn't mean that my collaboration should be to with the very big R&D centers, but whether I'm aligning with the schools, I'm giving my inputs to them, whether I have. So likewise, my own governance, do my own governance in my home, at my workplace, am I doing properly? So one example like anti-bribery is one of the component. So am I ethical? So that is one. So likewise. So it applies to your one man, it applies to society, it applies to school, it applies to NGOs, it applies to governments, it applies to corporates, to everyone. So you will be called sustainable only when you are delivering, you are justifying to that 17 sustainable development goals. So that is the sustainability.
So it's like it starts with you as a person, and then expands to your family, and then your city, and then your state, and the country, and extends to
Right.
8 billion people. And if there are more people in the other plants, I'm not sure, but at least I've limited 8 billion people. I would say
Correct.
that is that. So you have mentioned this three dimensions, which is the environmental, social, and governance in the ESG that we talked about. But you also mentioned that in the initial stages, which it was mentioned as environmental, social, and economic, which also brings me to this phrase that I remember, which is people, planet, profit. And we hear this phrase so often in the sustainability sector. So, can you share something that um, why has the phrase people, planet, and profit become so prevalent in sustainability discussions?
Yeah, again, the actually this term was came in the 1994. By it was given by the British business consultant. He was named John Elkington, and he given this the triple bottom line, that is the people, planet, and profit. And again, it is not different than the Brundtland's idea of the economy, environment, and your society. So peoples are the part of your society, planet is your environment, and profit is obviously your governance. And here you again you cannot override the profit to the people and planet. So you will just consider your profiting. The profit will neglect the peoples, it will neglect the planet, and again it will not be a sustainable thing. So obviously, and even many times some people try to expand it like people, profit, planet, and again endless P's are connected to that three P's.
I think that the concern that they have is that if there is no economic flow, how would we even do anything of these?
Obviously.
Dr. Nilesh, I would like to know you to explore this idea like the economy, profit, and sustainability. Do you see the market react to this, the idea of sustainability and profit as a problem or as an opportunity? For an example, the developing countries or the underdeveloped countries, how does their market react to these compliance, these reporting? Do they see it as an opportunity where they get to upgrade their technology of production, get higher market access to developed economy, or do they still see that after the Paris Agreement, these type of regulation, these types of act have hindered their day-to-day business, made it more problematic for them? So, what's the risk and the opportunity for like companies situated in like countries like India?
Okay, so let me give you the very recent example of this. This you might have heard the CBAM. So Europe has made it, so they are leading the environmental flag, and they have imposed the carbon border adjustment mechanism, whatever, means six sectors they have identified. And especially if we talk about the steel sector that India is mostly exporting to the Union. Okay. So now their joint research committee report, if you will see, so India's emissions for the embedded emissions for the steel is very higher. Okay, now you said that whether industries are looking it as a burden, just a compliance, business opportunity. Okay, so it is a business opportunity. So if you have heard, the JSW has recently replaced their DRI process completely on a green, that is on the hydrogen. So DRI is the direct reduced ion production process in which you need to convert your ferric Fe2O3 with the help of coke to reduce it into a metallic ion. Okay, so that is the DRI. So
So they
in that
upgraded their reducing agent from coking coal to
direct, yeah, coking coal is used as a reducing agent to convert your ferric oxide to your metallic ferric ion.
yeah.
So in that, your most carbon emitting compound is coke and coal. So that reducing agent is replaced with the help of hydrogen. So now the hydrogen is you're completely getting a very less emissions you're having in your process. So this is an opportunity. So when they are leading because now their demand will increase. So these are the opportunities for each and every business, because those are just considering of the profit, but their profit are draining out in various terms, like in their, if they are using over exploiting the water, if their machineries are not efficient, like in the energy efficiencies. So these actually sustainability is a very profitable thing.
That is great, sir. I mean, this has been incredibly clarifying, I would say, the discussion that we had until now. Um, and so, just to recap, so one of the things that I would let the listeners of this podcast is know that sustainability is specifically defined or mentioned as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations
Future
to meet
generation.
their own needs. That is the definition. And then you also learned in this that sustainability is not new. It has been in existence even before the World War has started, to be precise, and it has been continuing till today. And sustainability has grown and had more and more layers, and it has become more and more precise, where it can act and it can also measure to a level of a grand level of a human as you and me, and it expands from you and me to the 8 billion population that we have on the planet Earth. So then we go to the next one, which is another interesting one, where I think a lot of business leaders struggle. So the thing is, like, we're gonna maybe talk a little bit about frameworks, and this would comprise about how do you actually measure all of this, and how do these concepts turn into something concrete that a board of members of that organization can evaluate or investors can compare. So this is what we will be diving next to. So, Dr. Nilesh, let's talk about frameworks now.
Yeah. So basically, the first framework of the sustainability was the GRI. So the
Yes.
Global Reporting Initiative, and as I said, that it was rolled out in the 2000, and this is a voluntary kind of framework, and this is not a mandatory. If I list out the frameworks, then there is GRI, then TCFD, CDP, ISSB, in that S1 and S2, IFRS S1 and S2, then SEC, that is USA, it is the Stock Exchange Commission. Then your Canada is having CSSB.
Yeah.
Then European Union is having CSRD. Then
Yes.
there are EU taxonomies are there. China has also given its ESG guideline. India has having BRSR. Australia is having Treasury climate disclosures. South Africa is having JSE ESG guidelines. Brazil has given ISE B3, and Mexico has given MBV ESG disclosures. Okay, so now you will ask me that all these are mandatory, how they should be applied. Okay,
Yes.
so basically in this, the TCFD is mandatory in your UK, Japan, and New Zealand. And these are basically focus on your financial climate risk disclosures. Okay, so again, CDP is voluntary, but the SEC was mandatory, but now the Trump has withdrawn most of it and it has diluted. Now the Canada is have mandatory, and EU taxonomy, that is CSRD, is also mandatory thing. Again, in the India, the BRSR is applicable for your top 1,000 listed companies, but again, it has having three different versions like the BRSR, BRSR Core, and BRSR Lite.
Yes.
So the light version is for those who are listed but not in the rank, and they voluntarily want to start their journey because today or after tomorrow they will come to the on a listed, sorry, on the
To be
rank.
prepared for the future apps.
Yes, and obviously it will going to expand for the each and every business in the near time because our target of NDC target is 2070, and by that the all the businesses and all activities will come under the sustainability umbrella. Okay, so these are the your all frameworks are here. So the applicability will depend as per the mandate, as per the vision and expansion of your business. So most of the MNCs, those who are having their global presence, so they prefer to publish their report with the help of GRI.
Yes.
And again, those who are having their presence dominantly in the European Union, so they will combine, integrate their report like the double materiality will be included in the GRI because GRI do not ask for your double materiality.
Yeah.
Again, BRSR is having nine principles, and all the countries have developed their frameworks based on the GRI, but flexibility has been taken for their regional businesses and applicability as per regional requirements. I hope I have justified your question.
Yes, I mean that also answers why GRI has been the most widely adopted sustainability framework, because it is one I would say the most oldest framework that we had, and it has been evolving since the early 2000s, as you mentioned, which was inducted as G1 and later translated to GRI. And then, based on GRI's framework, many government agencies and government reporting committees have elucidated BRSR in India, CSRD or ESRS in Europe, and many other ways. So that also explains the GRI. So now we also talk about TCFD, which is the climate-related financial disclosure of an organization. But in the same terms, we often also hear SAS. So could you also like shed light between the TCFD and SAS?
SAS, I'm sorry, what you are actually, can you elaborate it, full form?
Yes, SASB stands for
Oh,
Sustainability
yeah,
Accounting
SASB.
Standards.
Oh, sorry,
Yes,
so
that's
I didn't got your correct pronunciation.
no,
SASB. Actually, SASB is having given its frameworks. So SASB and TCFD, because currently TCFD and CDP's recommendations has been adopted by the SASB, and it is under the ISSB, IFRS S1 and S2. Okay. So the IFRS, basically CDP, ISSB, IFRS, all these things are basically or dominantly the finance oriented. They largely consider finance. But after, from the last year, that is from the 2024, the IFRS has adopted, ISSB adopted the recommendation of the TCFD and CDP into the
yes,
IFRS framework.
yes, as S1 and
So,
S.
yes. So, when any big investor, actually, the purpose behind these frameworks is that the investors are more interested in securing their investment,
Investments.
and they want proper, uh, transparent disclosures, how their investment is utilized, at how much risk it is at environment or the climate risk, how is there. So accordingly, these frameworks are adopted, and but the most of the industries, those who are MNCs, those who are listed, those who are their presence at multiple stocks of the world stock exchanges, so they basically are adopting the IFRS S1 and S2 because it has completely encompassed all the uh,
Financial.
diversified
Right.
recommendations.
So that clears the GRI, which is the Universal Reporting Network and Reporting Framework, and
Yes,
then there is
GRI do not give much weightage to the finance. That's
yes,
the difference.
it's like a full body health checkup, whereas TCFD or SASB is like, let's say, your heart rate and BP rate or something, which are more risky than the full body checkup. So let's put that there. So um, while also talking about the sustainability frameworks, maybe we should also think a bit about what are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and why do businesses increasingly align their sustainability targets with these 17 global goals?
So, as I said, na, when you are, when I can call any organization, company, government, or anything sustainable, when it is giving a proper justice to that 17 developmental goals. So, if you are missing some of them, not some of them, basically you are neglecting the social part. You are not sustainable.
Yeah,
So obviously, your activities must be aligned, no matter that how much percentage you are justifying to that goal, but you should touch. That is expected. And accordingly, when the rating agencies rate any disclosures, so they give advantages accordingly.
yeah. So now. now this is all there. We have voluntary disclosures or voluntary frameworks such as CDP that we have spoken about, and then there are like mandatory frameworks as ESRS or CSRD or BRSR based on the country of origin or country of operation. Um, I think Dr. Nilesh, there's like one concept that I think is crucial but really hard to grasp, and that's something called as materiality. For many of the audience in this podcast, I think materiality is one of the concept that is really difficult to understand really deep. I also I've heard it called the cornerstone of sustainable reporting, but it's also one of the most confusing concepts. So, can you like help us understand what is material?
Yes, obviously. So materiality is the basically it is an art of separating nice to work from need to work or need
Okay,
to know, need to know.
okay, okay.
So materiality, I can say that how what is important for me. Materiality is importance. And where the first basic step of your sustainability journey is to identify what is applicable to you. Okay. So what concepts, what points, what your areas that matters most to be considered while reporting, because it's the difference between a company talking about its office recycling program and the tech giant talking about the massive energy consumptions.
Yeah.
Okay. So likewise, the materiality is done to bridge the gap between doing good and strategic business management.
Yes.
So it will focus that how it can prevent information overloaded. The information which is required and relevant. Relevant is a one very basic thing in the reporting, because irrelevant information is not useful for anybody. And materiality identifies the exact things which are applicable and important from the point of sustainability.
So, in short, we can define as based on the nature of business of an organization, materiality could be defined as the most or the most impacted problem statement of their organization, which is in relevance to the SDG goals that are given by the UN of the
Yes,
same.
obviously there are certain standard methods has been given, like the GRI also has given a special chapter on how to do a materiality assessment.
Yes.
So there are certain methodologies, standards. Again, after doing your materiality assessment, it needs to be third party verified that
Yes.
really how standard you have followed, whether your information is correct or not. So after that, your materiality assessment gets validated.
So now we have learned a bit about materiality and also the third party verification and the way it can be predicted, also following GRI. So can you also like maybe state the differences between what is single materiality and double materiality approaches?
Obviously, in the GRI, as I said, the GRI focuses on only the materiality, which focuses on the impact of your activities on the environment. Okay. But when you come to the European CSRD's guidelines, which ask you for the double materiality, it again asking you for the what are the impact. It is to and fro. What is your activities are going to impact on the environment, and how the environment is going to impact your business. So this is the in a layman or simple terms that it is a two-way. So how the environment is going to affect my business, how my investments are going to be affected. So this is the double
Uh,
materiality.
would you like to share an example so that the people
Yeah,
who
so we can take an example of a social component, like any business. The uh, the major stakeholder of that business is the employees.
yes.
Okay, so when I'm doing my part, my business, so how my business is uh, delivering or affecting the social component, that is, I'm providing the job, my wages, paying my revenues, etc., is relevant. But the society now here, it is a one component example. Actually, it is a very vast thing. So if suppose that one stakeholder rebels, they do not cooperate. or so how it will going to affect my investments. So that is to and fro thing. So they are contributing to you, but how you are contributing, how both are affecting to each others. Okay, it is a very simply I'm telling you, not going into a much detail or technical kind of thing. Again, so when I'm having a solar plant, in that solar plant, I have invested a lot. So I have disturbed the biodiversity. Obviously, the government do not give you the approvals to install in a eco-sensitive zones. But suppose you are whatever, because everywhere there is a habitat and you are destroying that habitat. So I have one example I cannot disclose, but in the MP, there were a barren land. It is a hilly rock area, hilly terrain. In that, the vegetation was very sporadic, but it was the habitat of the leopards. Okay, so when they had their breeding time, so they were roaming in that area, and because of that, the employees were so scared that they were not going in the night shifts and even in the day shifts. So again, it was hampering the operations. So likewise, you have to consider all the things in the double materiality.
So in the example of leopards, I think the impact materiality would be that would be impacting the livelihoods or the security and safety of the workers, and the financial impact from that is that the operations would stall or like they get slowed down, and
Correct.
resulting into a double materiality of that situation. That is amazing. So now, when we speak about like various reporting frameworks across the world, and different institutions, different countries have their own reporting frameworks and everything, and GRI sets at the foundational level of everything. And often, many people have this doubt is that like if an organization is currently using GRI for their reporting framework, and uh, and they think that maybe should they incorporate SASB or TCFD elements, or would starting fresh with a new framework would be more effective for integrating?
Uh, See, if I say that anybody is actually using GRI, then they are very mature.
Yes.
Okay, because GRI is not a very small thing to be implemented and to report in their framework. So, but set it apart, and if any new novice is there and he wants to start its reporting journey, so in that case, the first question comes that, so what is the purpose of reporting?
Yeah.
Okay, so if he is going to voluntary report, so minimum is the best. Like in case of India, so even SEBI suggests them that you use the GRI light version. In that, they have considered only your energy efficiency, your GHG reporting, your if like LCA, PCF, your water waste, and such small things has been given. But after that, your next version comes, like the BRSR core. So
Yeah.
BRSR core, actually it is applicable for the all the top 1,000 listed companies. So again, the assurance flexibility is given. Some can assurance, like the 250 must has the mandate for assurance. Likewise. So any MSME want to start. So for MSME, the basic thing is that you get a checklist that how much you want. So how basically any industry will first say that what I will get, because
Yeah.
I am disclosing what is my benefit. So if the board is proactively and voluntarily wants to disclose their information, then they must have a clear idea that what they are going to get from it. Like they will attract investment. If they want the investment from the IFC, then in that case they will need to go through their standards. As per their requirement, they will need to furnish all the information in that disclosures. So the purpose, then applicability, and then your framework will come into a picture.
I mean, while you were sharing this answer, I just remembered like in the reporting frameworks, sustainable reporting frameworks. I think still to a large extent, everybody acknowledges that MSME have a lot of impact, but at the same time, reporting framework for them and then developing a framework which is so lenient that they could also participate, and also they could also contribute towards the sustainability development of the country, is still a challenge. Maybe would you like to speak something?
Actually, it is not a challenge. It is biggest question is here how much they are aware. The awareness is the key because
Yes.
they many things they are already doing.
Yeah.
Because running a company, even a MSME, private limited, is not a joke. They must have to comply all the company acts, regulations. They need to do all the compliances. And when you go through a checklist, you will find that even, near about 70% they are complying,
Yeah.
just they don't know how to disclose, how to furnish, how to get it assured. So when they will do such kind of practices in their day-to-day operations, they will get mature and their businesses will become a very valuable. I can tell you one example. When we were doing scope 3 inventorization, so we were getting a lot of challenge to get data from the suppliers. They are located in China. So China was not much serious about it. So
Yeah.
in India, if your business is very ethical, you are having everything which need to do or need to feed their masters, like seated in Europe. So your business will get a very at next level. So it is a very even the Ministry of MSME is working on it, and they will roll out their framework for it.
And I'm very optimistic for the effectiveness of the act that would happen once MSMEs will participate in the sustainability journey of India. So as you already mentioned, like one of your examples in Scope 3, where you had the clientele or the suppliers were in China and many other things. So for organizations operating in multiple jurisdictions, are distinct data sets required for different frameworks, or can the data be harmonized across reporting requirements?
See, whether they are in one continent or they are MNCs, the disclosures, like if I talk only about the GRI, so GRI is applicable to all continents, to
Everything.
every boundary. But again, if they want to include the financial, so they will have to include the IFRS S1 and S2. And again, the integrated report will be very much effective and applicable. So it will come, and the data sets will not change because see, GHG, your scope 1, 2, 3, that will not change. Your SBTI alignment, that will not change. Your SDG alignment, that will not change. So basically, but how much information you want to disclose, that again, there are certain guidelines where what information disclosure is mandated, which is voluntary. So that is different, but the data sets are not going to change.
So they can be harmonized at a place. And
Yes,
if they are
obviously.
already leading with GRI, that is more than great.
Correct.
All right. So, in the same business or an organizational background we speaking, there is always another question which comes is between the investor versus stakeholder report, which is that how can an organization reconcile investor focused reporting with broader stakeholders impact reporting when they emphasize different aspects of sustainability performance?
See, you when you are using the word stakeholder,
Yeah.
so this investor is a very important stakeholder and that cannot be set apart.
Yes.
Okay. So in these stakeholders, all your suppliers are coming, your employees are coming, your security personals are coming, your laborers, your employees, all everything is coming into your stakeholders. Yeah, again, the stakeholder specific information, which like the again the reports are means the interested parties of your report, then that is the different thing because investor will see for risk and opportunities. He will
Yes.
see for ROI.
Yes.
While you're a social component, like you are running a company and which is having 50,000 or 20,000 of employees, so they will look for their own social or their job related social security, job security, anti-bribery, grievance. So that will be their interest.
Yeah.
So basically, stakeholders cannot be distinguished or separated. The information, the weightage, that can vary there.
Okay. And it really depends on the individual organization
Correct.
and their composition of.
Yes, obviously.
So that's good. So I think that was very comprehensive, and we have learned major frameworks: GRI for broad sustainability reporting, TCFD for climate financial risks, SDG for strategic alignment. We have unpacked materiality, which is really about focusing on what matters most for your specific business, and we have talked about the practical challenges of multiple frameworks across different jurisdictions. Uh, that was great, Dr. Nilesh. And maybe we would proceed to the one last segment of this podcast. So here's the question. Okay, let's be honest. Many executives hear sustainability reporting and think cost center, regulatory burden, distraction from core business. And you, Dr. Nilesh, you work with companies on sustainability strategies. So what's the real business case beyond just compliance? Like what is the genuine business case for sustainability beyond regulatory compliance and risk mitigation?
Yeah, so if I give you example in the strategy and how the sustainability is beneficial to the business, because people think that it is a non-productive thing, because environment for many businesses, that environment is useless for them because it
Yeah.
is not giving you any return. But when the mandate comes, or when you do your product carbon footprinting, and in that, if your electricity consumption is very high and that is your major carbon footprint component, in that case, we suggested them that you switch to your solar or renewable energy. So obviously, after that, they got their business escalated. They got expanded. They got multiple orders because their footprint was less compared to the market products. So that was a very positive impact on them. And again, one of the solar industry, they were using water for their cleaning. So again, the robots were introduced. So it reduced their manpower, reduced the water requirement, and again the water footprint was reduced there. So likewise, the very small things telling you here, it will vary as per the business. There, when we do the analysis, there where are their hotspots accordingly, so they can how they can reduce their expenses and what will be the positive impact on their business.
I mean that sounds amazing, but again, I can envision myself even if I speak to any business owner, they'll be like, how long does it take to see the ROI on the sustainable investment? That is like the question that they ask.
Obviously, obviously, it depends on how what is the magnitude or how much they are spending. Accordingly, their savings, and as per that, they will get the returns. So, give me a simple example. If anybody is spending a lot of money on their tanker fed water supply, and if they can secure 10 times more water, they can store in a pond, then how how fast they can get the ROI on
The
that their
ROI is
investment.
like 1/10 of the time that it takes.
So it depends that how much they are harvesting from the nature.
So while we are speaking on this, I just wanna like also add it to the conversation is that for defining or also for while looking for strategies on in order to like reduce a carbon footprint or water usage footprint or anything, often organizations I think go through this protocol of marginal abatement cost curves, and they plot across different technologies and different strategies on the impact versus cost, and then based on the selection they go from the highest impact low investment problems to the high impact high investment projects, so that their investment stays steady, their ROI stays steady, and then they can continue their long sustainability journey. So that creates another question to me, which is on the short term versus long term tensions in the business. So the question specifically would be, Why should chief executives and board members prioritize sustainability when they face constant pressure to deliver quarterly financial results?
Obviously, again here, if will they focus only on the profit,
Yeah.
so, so it is not going to be a sustainable business. And
Yes.
one very philosophical thing here I want to quote here, that it is not the sustainability of the nature, it is sustainability of humankind. Nature
Yes.
has its own way to sustain. Even if you'll recall the moments of our COVID, that time at the on the coast of, or sorry, on the India Gate, there were dolphins were playing in the
Yes. The return
Arabian
of
Sea.
dolphins in the Arabian Sea.
Yes. So I think we are we have lost harmony with nature, and now we should take care of ourselves, that nature is going to sustain itself.
So, Dr. Nilesh, as you had been in the industry for a very long time, I have this curious question, which is majorly on the communication part. So, like, how do you communicate like long-term sustainable investment to stakeholders focused on quarterly earnings?
Long term, obviously. So when the investment is there, and now take the example, when people invest in the your solar plants, its
Yes.
ROIs goes to near about 10 years. After
Okay.
10 years, they get ROI on that. But there are multiple things in which they can get benefits because market demand is very high. They are getting very high returns as compared to your. And again, there is if I say, if you will compare your thermal power plant to solar power plant, so the thermal power plant has very hectic business of their waste disposal, their air pollution control, their because if it gets shut down, then it revival takes a lot of efforts and money.
Yeah.
So such kind of things are not here. Again, for a long term, it is very good, but for short term, in the case of environmental risk, there are a lot of climate risk in the your solar plant. So again, the ROI or quarterly, if you will say, so long term do not come into the picture for the quarterly thing, quarterly reporting.
That is very true.
On the technological aspect also, if you compare technologies like sustainable side of like solar plates to thermal power plant, I think with the new advent of technologies, the efficiency has also somehow overpassed the thermal power capacity, etc., in recent
o-
papers.
of your solar.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. As and even if you go back and if you will find, some Japanese researchers has predicted that it will, with the time, its efficiency will go longer and longer. So your ROI will again come down very soon, because earlier when it was came into the utility sides, the it was 240 watt panel. Now you are getting 580 watts per panel. So just two panels are enough for you to produce your 100 kilowatt power. So obviously technological advancement will obviously give you a very early returns, and it will be a more sustainable.
And more benefitable for the
Yes,
longer longevity.
yes.
So in the same grounds, actually, like uh, there is also a perception recently in the market, which is that is sustainability merely a temporary trend driven by stakeholder pressures, or does it represent a fundamental and permanent shift in how businesses operate?
Okay. So for this, now again I will take you to the 1990s, when the
Yes, I've done that journey.
when the first IPCC report was published. So whatever predictions they had given, that came true. The polar ice is depleting, the floods are coming, the fluctuations in your weather is very high, your hot days are increasing, your dry spells are increasing. So everything. So day by day, it is not a temporary hawk, that it is just an the regulatory driven market. It is not, obviously. In the coming days, it will become a mandate. Even it will become a self-driven mandate.